here's like.
Yeah.
You look across to the CBD, it's awesome.
It is. It's a great view.
And the sea breeze, our prevailing summer wind, afternoon wind, comes that away. So out here on the lawn, you're sheltered. You're in the lee of the breeze. So yeah, there has been a change, and similarly with blue water racing. 20 years ago, if we were doing a typical 200 nautical mile race south from here, we'd get 30, 35 boats. We did one about 6 weeks ago. We had 10.
Wow. You know, one of the things that the organizations around Rhode Island have done is worked on bringing, later this year we'll have the 12-meter World Championships. We've had the Volvo Ocean Race, the American Cup Trials, events like that. Does anything come here to the west coast of Australia? I know Sydney Hobart is down south, but
Sydney
anything
Hobart's the
big?
significant one.
Yeah.
We've done Volvos as a stop-off point, Whitbreads, quite routinely off the coast here. One of the problems with Perth and West Australia is very isolated.
Yes.
We're one of the most isolated.
I love it.
So do I. That's right.
Yeah.
You might gather I'm English, but
there's
nowhere I'd rather live than here, frankly. But it is a problem being so isolated. For example, take Sydney Hobart. For a yacht, and quite a few do from here, do the Sydney Hobart. It's a long way from here to sail to the start line in Sydney. That's a serious sail down through the Southern Ocean just to start the race.
Yeah.
The race itself's nothing. It's only 300 or 400 miles. It's the 2,000 or 3,000 miles you've got to do to get there.
Yes, many people back home, I don't think, make it this way because it takes so long to get here.
Correct.
And I don't think they realize that Australia is the size of the United States.
That's right. Exactly.
I have seen Adelaide now. I'm in Fremantle and Perth now, and then I'm going to head to Sydney. And it is a massive country, and it would be the same as sailing all the way around the United States to participate.
Yeah. Happily here, of course, we can sail around. You've got to go through the Panama Canal.
Yes, Panama Canal, no matter which way you go.
Or
somehow
get cold.
Pick it up and, or get very cold.
Yeah.
Of course, we could spend a couple minutes on it, but what's that, 130 years after this club was founded, you started getting involved in, I guess it was a few years before that, the America's Cup race.
Yes. Yeah, well, I'll take you up into the bond room in a minute, our boardroom, which is set up with basically 83 style memorabilia and so forth. Because up there we've got a little plaque I'll show you in the floor. It's actually a stainless steel plate, which was put in there in 1974, I think it was, from memory, where we, shows my age, telexed New York Yacht Club.
Okay.
And said, there's a bunch of men from the land down under coming over to take the cup. We knew that it was held in the trophy room with a long bolt.
Yeah.
So we asked what the thread was on the bolt.
Oh, that is great.
So we had a thread plate made, and it's cast into the concrete up there.
And that would have been...
It wasn't until
Southern Cross was the first one.
Correct.
Because you put 5 boats out of here for the America's Cup?
Yeah. And it was interesting because up until 83, when our lot managed to grab it off your lot after 132 years, the defence in 87 was huge, because it suddenly made it clear to the rest of the world that, hey, this is an attainable goal. Therefore, we had, as you know, the Canadians, the French, the Italians, the Brits, Kiwis, the lot.
Yeah.
It was a huge defence.
And it's amazing. I was about 1 year one when the victory happened, so I don't remember it.
You don't remember it too well.
I don't remember it too well, but certainly living in Newport, I hear about it far too often. I have seen what has happened in the city because of it, and then I came here to Fremantle, and I got over to the Maritime Museum a couple days ago and saw Australia too.
Yeah. And
just reading the stories about for the 87 challenge, it built up the entire city.
Fremantle was a grotty port city. it really wasn't a place you'd go socially. It transformed the whole city.
Yeah.
Millions spent on it. To its good, even today, although it's quietened off a bit today because half the bloody retail shops seem to be closed.
Yeah.
But that's general. But no, it transformed Fremantle like you wouldn't believe.
People were just, I went in on today's Thursday, so on a Tuesday. And people were just staring at Australia too. And, I just observed for a little while and just peeking at her every single way and still just mesmerized by her. There was a gentleman I spoke to from the UK who, said, don't feel too bad, at least you participated. We never get a shot at it. So, just very interesting how people are still mesmerized by it 36 years later.
I think what fascinates me, after all those years, we still get routinely, multiple times a year, we'll get a school group, not just here in Perth, it could be in London, it could be anywhere, who are doing a thing on the effect of the America's Cup on Fremantle. We get monthly, I had one only yesterday, people from all corners of the world where perhaps someone's passed away and the family have found bits of memorabilia from that period, offering it to the club. If we took it all, we'd need a warehouse. It's mind-boggling the amount of stuff that keeps being offered to us. And people looking for stories back from 83. Okay, you were one.
So if 36 years ago, if those sailors were anywhere between 18 and 30, they're now approaching 70s, 80s. We're at an important time we were talking about beforehand, but it's important that we revisit this while we still have some of these sailors around and and tell the stories, because it was certainly, it changed cities. It changed Newport. It changed here in Fremantle.
Changed Auckland.
Changed Auckland.
Yeah, goes all the way through. And in fact, I don't know, it still is, but up until a year or two ago, if you Googled, what was the Google search? It was something like sporting moments that changed the world. America's Cup here, or 83, consistently came up at the top. Even now.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is incredible, because my children, for example, weren't even thought of. Well, actually they were, because we reckon that our eldest son was conceived on the night of the America's Cup ball that we had in Fremantle. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's funny because I was reading a story where it said it was the most successful ever in terms of event management, the 87 here in Fremantle.
Yeah, that's been reported before. Yeah. And it was very well done. Took a lot of work though.
What would have happened if you won again? That's just a guessing game, huh?
We should have won again. Were it not for, and they're both dead now, of course, Kevin Parry, running the Kookaburra Syndicate, and Alan Bond running the Australia Syndicate, they were not getting on.
Yeah.
So they were weakening the crew strength, the experience, the financial effect. They diluted it by fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And which is why Kookaburra went on to defend it and lost.
Is that the last time that Royal Perth Yacht Club put a boat in the America's Cup?
Yeah.
Any reason?
Yeah.
Money.
Pure money. I mean, to get, in a town like this, to get a sponsor to look at the sort of dollars involved in a modern America's Cup campaign, it's massive. Whereas if you go back to 87, before that 83 and so on, a lot of these places, including here, did it on a shoestring.
Yeah.
I mean, our crew in 83 were staying in B&Bs. They spent some time in a container.
Wow.
They were given an allowance per day that you wouldn't live on by bond.
You just wanted to win it.
You got it.
Yeah.
Today, it's big money.
Is any yacht clubs, anyone in Australia trying to put a team together?
Yes, there have been attempts out of Queensland to put a team together, but they get so far and then it comes down to the dollar. I think Team New Zealand have been very lucky with Emirates. Huge organisation, very strong. I mean, Emirates running 3 flights out of Perth alone to Dubai every day. So it's a big market for them, this region. They put a lot of money into it. And even the New Zealand government, as I'm sure you've read, were threatening to pull back their contribution, but then they seem to have softened a bit on that now.
Yeah.
Because the old story, if you look in Auckland, for the last major one, there was massive work done. Do you know Auckland? Have you been
Yes.
there? Yeah. Massive work done on the waterfront, which suited the event. Subsequent to that, there's apartments and other buildings being put on that land, so you can't reuse that site to do it again.
It's like the Olympic sites.
Correct. And it's no different if you look behind you in this photograph of the annex in Freo. We had this whole landmass all the way through here, and this apartment hotel goes right to the end. That was all the syndicate bases.
Wow.
You can't do it now, it's got buildings all over the place.
Yeah.
So, it would be very difficult because you can't run a yacht race like that on the river. It's not big enough.
Many people who were around for the America's Cup in Newport, New York Yacht Club is putting a team out this time around, but many people say even if they won it, chances are it wouldn't come back to Newport because the infrastructure, things like that, is just the money's not there. The big sponsors and the big hotels, and it's all about, it's all about the bottom line.
And don't forget, there was a threat, which is now gone, that the next one may not have been held in Auckland. It may have gone to Spain.
Wow.
For exactly that reason.
Yeah. It's wild. What are your members, or if you want to share your personal opinion on the move away from 12 meters and what the America's Cup is now compared to what it was 35 years ago?
I have quite strong views on it, personally. As a sailor, I've only been sailing since I was about 6, so I'm still learning.
So that's 20 years?
Yeah, more or less.
They don't know your age.
No, you're right. It's developed to a point where it is, I call it a sport of kings, where it's technology driven and therefore money driven. If you oversimplify it, the most competitive America's Cup race you could do would be in half a dozen boats like these out of the window here. Identical boats, absolutely no difference. Same sails, same equipment, cost next to nothing. Then it becomes a race of skill of the crew. To me, that's what a sport is.
Yeah.
The crew, the people, the tactics, and so on. Whereas now, it's technology. And technology brings cost. I mean, you look at the boats that are going to be used this time. How the hell they can sail is beyond me.
Many people have called them back home NASCAR on water.
Yeah, pretty right. Yeah.
They're just so fast and so different.
It is. And a chap who works on this side now, Andy Feathers, who's done 3 of the more recent America's Cups as crew. The stories he tells in the Cats of running from one side to the other, the carriage of many oxygen cylinders on their belt in case they're trapped in a rollover so they can breathe for a few seconds.
Wow.
Sailing in crash helmets.
Yeah.
Really?
We have a large collection of the old 12 meters in Newport.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, we're having the 12 meter World Championships, which will be the largest ever U.S. gathering. There will be 24 of them there.
Yeah, we've had an invite.
Yeah. Is there any collection here still?
There's 1, 2, I think, in Auckland.
Well, where are the boats that can participate?
There's 1 or 2 on the East Coast. I think they're in Queensland, 12 metres.
Okay.
The 2, Australia 3 and Australia 4, finished up in Japan.
Okay.
Of all daft places. And they laid there for 30 years.
Wow.
On a wharf. And someone was trying to put together a syndicate to bring them here. They need fully refurbishing. And they're still there.